There's a lot of talk right now that what we're seeing unfold is something truly different, a conflict on a scale that hasn't been seen since the Second World War. The sheer number of countries involved, the strategy, the global stakes, it all makes you stop and ask a pretty serious question. Right? Is this what a mini world war actually looks like? That's the big question we're tackling today. We're going to break down the analysis, look at the facts, and really try to understand the full scope of a conflict that has already pulled in major world powers. I mean, just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, more than 15 countries have already been targeted directly. This is not some small, localized fight. We're talking about a battlefield that, according to this view, is already sprawling across continents. So, to even begin to answer that question, we first have to know who's who. So, let's dive in and break down the key players to see exactly how this conflict is said to have blown up so quickly. When you boil it all down, you're looking at two main sides. On one side, you've got the United States and Israel, who are carrying out their own coordinated strikes. And on the other side, you have Iran, which has reportedly launched this massive, simultaneous offensive against a whole host of countries. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. According to this analysis, Iran isn't just firing back randomly. No, they're supposedly running a highly organized three-pronged strategy. It's like they've opened up three distinct battlefronts, and each one has a very specific goal. Okay, so the first front, that's the most direct. It's all about hitting their main adversaries, Israel and the United States. The second front is where they broaden the fight, going after key American allies in the region. We're talking the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and others. But it's that third front. That's the one that changes the entire game. And this is absolutely crucial. By hitting military bases that belong to France, Italy, and Great Britain, Iran is seen as deliberately targeting members of NATO. An action like that potentially brings the entire NATO alliance into the fight, which just raises the stakes to a whole other level, a global level. To really get a feel for how intense this conflict is, we're going to zoom in and look at the events of just one single day. The number of things that happened all at once is, well, it's almost unbelievable. Let's start in Kuwait. A huge incident took place here involving American fighter jets. But as you've probably guessed, in modern conflicts like this one, what actually happened really depends on whose story you're hearing. So, Iran's story? They immediately came out and said, "We did it. Our forces shot down 3 American F-15s. But the U.S. Department of Defense tells a totally different and tragic story. They say it was a friendly fire incident where Kuwait's own air defense system accidentally shot the jets down. It's a classic case of the fog of war. And that was just the start of the day. In another attack in Kuwait, 4 American soldiers were killed on a U.S. base. Then in Saudi Arabia, a drone hits a massive Aramco oil refinery. And in Bahrain, the headquarters for the entire U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet comes under attack. It was just this relentless wave of strikes. But maybe the boldest attack of the day was aimed right at Israel's leadership. A hypersonic missile, the Khyber, reportedly slammed into the prime minister's office. This thing travels at 6,000 kilometers per hour. Think about that. Current defense systems just can't stop something moving that fast. At the same time, the United Arab Emirates was facing an absolute swarm from the sky. Their air defenses were working overtime, managing to intercept a staggering 148 drones in just one 24-hour window. And as if 150 drones wasn't enough, they also had to deal with 15 ballistic missiles on the very same day. It just gives you this really clear picture of the sheer scale of the coordinated assault they were up against. All right, so we've looked at the players, the strategy, the sheer intensity. Let's zoom back out. Why does all this matter to everyone else? Why does a conflict that seems so far away have consequences for the entire world? Well, here's why it matters to you. That attack on the Saudi Aramco facility, it hit a refinery that pumps out 500,000 barrels of oil every single day. When you disrupt that flow, even for a short time, it sends shockwaves through the global economy and directly affects the price you and I pay for gas. And that really brings us right back to where we started. This quote kind of says it all, doesn't it? The number of nations tangled up in this single conflict is something the world just hasn't seen for over 75 years. It's a truly unprecedented event in our modern times. So you add it all up, a conflict that involves more than 15 nations, a strategy that uses 3 different fronts, an event that pulls in NATO members and threatens the entire world's economy. You have to ask, at what point does it stop being just a war and start becoming a world war? That's the question this whole situation leaves us with.